Hi, you are welcome back to Twitter Think. In this one, I will be talking about how to relate purchases to matrix equations. It's a simple 2 by 2 matrix question. So we are gonna read the question and then we change it into matrix and we find out what the question is telling us to do. So this is very simple. I need you to pay critical attention to the things that I will say, how to deduce the equations, and then how to solve. So my name is Daniel. Please subscribe to this channel, support this work if these videos have been very useful to you. So now let's see what we have today. So this question is saying two friends, Abby and Bobo, whatever you want to call it, Bobo, you can use that one too. So Abby and Bobo went to the school canteen to buy fish and kenkey to eat. Abby bought 2 balls of kenkey and 3 pieces of fish, which cost her 6 cedis. Bobo also bought 3 balls of kenkey and 2 pieces of fish, which cost 7 cedis. Now the first question is, write out the equation relating to the purchases and the amount spent by the 2 friends. Then we have rewrite your equation in the matrix form AX equals to B. And finally, the last question says, find A inverse, and using the inverse, determine the cost of 1 kenkey and 1 piece of fish. So this is the question that was given to us. This is just a simple 2 by 2 matrix question. So the first step is to deduce the equation and then use it to find A inverse. Then we can find the values of X and Y, which stands for the cost of 1 kenkey and the cost of 1 fish. Okay, so in the first step, we need to find the cost of 1 ball of kenkey, which we don't know. So we can represent that with a variable. So the first thing you say is that let X be the cost of 1 ball of kenkey. Then next is to find the cost of what? 1 piece of fish. So that one too, we can say let Y be the cost of 1 piece of fish. Now from here, we can deduce the equation from the question using the variable X and Y. So let's go back to the question. Now the question says, Abby bought 2 balls of kenkey and 3 pieces of fish, which cost her 6 cedis. So if X stands for balls, then we have 2X plus 3Y, which is Y standing for the number of fishes, equals to the cost of the price, which is what? 6 cedis. So that is what we have. So now we have 2 balls of kenkey, 2X plus 3 pieces of fish plus 3Y equal to what? 6. Now the question said that Bobo also bought 3 balls of kenkey and 2 pieces of fish. So now 3X plus 2Y equal to what? The cost, which is 7 cedis. So now we have 3X plus 2Y equals to 7. And this is equation 2. So this is the solution for question number 1. Write down the equation relating to the purchases. So this is equation 1 and 2. Now let's move to question 2. He says rewrite your equations in a matrix form AX times B. That is what the question is asking. Now we change our 2 equations into a matrix form. That one too is very simple. Just follow me carefully. We have the variable X, X, Y, Y. So you just write the matrix in that form. So the first will give us 2, and then you write for the 3, which is the same X here. Then we write for Y, which is 3, the first one, and the second one is what? 2. So this is our first matrix equation. Now multiply this by the variable X and Y. X and Y. So we have equate the result to the constant, the cost of the item. So we have 6 and 7. So this is giving us 6, 7. Now you have been able to deduce the result or the equation into a matrix form. Now the question was asking you to write it in the form AX equal to B. That is what we have done. So this is telling us that the matrix here is called matrix A. Then X and Y here is known as X. then the constant is b. So we can see that x times a is giving us what? B. That is the result for question number 2. This one. Now let's move on to question 3. Question 3 said find A inverse, and using the inverse determine the cost of one kinky. Find the value of x and y. So now let's move back to the question. Now before I start that calculation, let me talk about the inverse of the matrix. Now inverse, let's say the matrix is A, so A inverse is equal to 1 over the determinant of A times adjoint of A. Now we need to find the determinant of the matrix A and find the adjoint of A. Then it will help us to find the what? Inverse. When we substitute these results into the formula we have here, most of us are aware of this. How do you find the adjoint? How do you find the inverse? So let's box on to that one. So first, let's find the determinant of A. So determinant of A is like this. It's giving us this time this, in this diagonal, 2 times 2, whatever you have in this diagonal, minus 3 times 3, whatever you have here. Remember, it is always this side, multiplication of this side minus multiplication of that side. So we have 2 times 2 minus 3 times 3. So this is giving us 2 times 2 minus 3 by 3. So determinant of A is giving us 4 minus 9. Determinant of A equals -5. So for the adjoint of A, it's very simple. The reason is that because this is a 2 by 2 matrix, we just need to interchange some variables and negate some other variables. This is not a 3 by 3 matrix where we have to find the cofactor and then turn the rows or columns to generate the adjoint of the matrix. So for this one, before I start, let's assume that we have the matrix A being equal to A, B, C, and D. Now, the adjoint of A means that change the position of A and D and negate B and C. So adjoint of A, let me say AD, will give me D, next C, next B, A. So this is our adjoint of what? A. Very simple. For a 2 by 2 matrix, this is how you do it. So you just interchange A and D and you negate B and C. So now let's go back to the question. Now A, B, C, and D are values that we have in the question. So let's see what we have there. Now matrix A was giving us 2, 3, 3, 2. So we interchanged position A and what? D. Remember that A and D are still the same value. So whether we interchange or not, we are still getting the same thing. And then we negate B and what? C. Alright, so let's do that. So we have adjoint of A is gonna give us 2, neg 3, neg 3, and 2. I've interchanged. So this is what we are having. Now this is adjoint of A. Now from the formula that we learned earlier, 1 over the determinant times the adjoint of A will give us what? A inverse. So let's do that. A inverse equals 1 over the determinant. Determinant that we got was what? -5. So we have 1 over -5, which is still giving us -1 over 5 times the what? Adjoint of A. What is adjoint of A? We are having 2, neg 3, and what? 2. So I'll just put it here. 2, neg 3, and 2. Now this is A inverse. Remember, to make the work very easier for you, do not use the fraction here to multiply. Hold on with this result. We will come back and use it. So now let's find the values of x and y. How do we do that? There's a simple calculation you need to do, but there's no need for you to do that. All you need to do is to quote the formula and then substitute your result. But I'm going to teach you how to go about it. So pay attention and listen so that you can understand if you have problems with this. So let's go back to ax, which is equal to b, and let's quote that. So from ax equal to what? B. Multiply both sides by A inverse. So we have A inverse times AX equal to A inverse of B. Now you see, your next step is to note that anytime an inverse function multiplies the same matrix, it generates what we call the identity or the unit matrix. I repeat, anytime a matrix multiplies its inverse, which is A times A inverse, the result is the identity matrix or what we call the unit matrix. Now, let's see what we have. This means that if I have A inverse times A, it is giving me what? I. And for a 2 by 2 matrix, I equals 1, 0, 0, 1. And this is what we call the unit matrix or the identity matrix. If it is a 3 by 3 matrix, it's 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. So this is our identity matrix. So therefore, from here, we can say that Ix equals to what? A inverse times B. So we have Ix equals A inverse times what? B. Again, anytime the identity matrix multiplies a matrix X, it will generate the same matrix X. Remember that X is representing the value or the result for X and what? Y that we have here. Now, if X and Y, let's assume that we have a value for X and Y, let's say 2 and 1 or 2 and 4. When you multiply that result by the identity matrix, you are still getting what? The variables X and what? Y. Now, let me show you that one too. Let's assume that X is giving us 2, 3. And we are multiplying this by the identity matrix I, 1, 0, 0, 1. This is going to give us 2 times 1 will give us 2 plus 3 times 0 giving us what? 0. We are not done. Then we have 2 times 0 giving us 0 plus 3 times 1 giving us what? 3. So now when we add these two results, we are generating another result known as what? X, which is equal to 2, 3. 2 plus 0 will give you 2. 2 plus 3 will give you what? 3. Now you see we are still generating 2 and 3 giving us the same X. This means that anytime a matrix multiplies the identity matrix, it generates the same what? Matrix. So therefore Ix here is the same as what? X. So we have X equals A inverse times B. Now what are we looking for? The question said use the A inverse from here to determine the cost of one kinky. So we are using A inverse to determine the values for what? Capital X here. So from here, to be able to find the variable X, which is standing for X and Y, all you need to do is to multiply the inverse function by B. Don't be confused. Remember that B here equals 6, 7. 6, 7. And the inverse function equals -1/5 times this matrix 2, neg 3, and 2. So I can substitute this result into the formula, and then I'm done with the calculation. So let's do that. We have our X standing for X and Y. So I have x, y here being equal to what? A inverse neg 1 over 5 multiplying what? We have 2 neg 3. That was what we got. Neg 3 and 2. Use this result to multiply b. And b is also 6, 7. So now you see, that is what we have gotten. So now we can use this to multiply this. And when we finish, we use the negative 1 over 5 to multiply through. Now let's do that. So first, I told you that in the beginning, don't use negative 1 over 5 to multiply this, though you will also get the same answer. But it will make your result to be a fraction, making it difficult for you to do that, because some of us who are having issues with this. So the first thing you do, use the matrix here to multiply the matrix A, which is the adjoint. When you finish, use the 1 over 5 to what? Finish the calculation. So first, I'll write my matrix A down. If you have watched my video under multiplication of 3 by 3 matrix, I taught you how to multiply two separate what? Matrices. So I'll first write the 2 by 2 matrix down, which is 2, neg 3, and 2. Then I told you that your next matrix, when you pick the matrix, because it is already in the column form, you pick this column, all you need to do is to turn it anti-clockwise 90 degrees. So I'll pick this matrix and I'll turn it this way and write it here. So when I turn it anti-clockwise in this direction, I am getting what? 6, 7. Then I can use it to multiply. 6 by 2 will give me what? 12. Now use the 7 to also multiply this value, because 7 can multiply all values in this column. 6 can also multiply all values in this column. Now 6 by negative 3 will give you what? Minus 21. Okay, now we are done using 6 and 7 to multiply this row. We move on to the next one. 6 by 3, we are getting what? Minus 18. Then plus 7 by 2, we are getting what? 14. Okay, so now we can simplify this. Now this is giving us 12 minus 21 is giving us minus 9, minus 18 plus 14, we are having minus what? 4. So this is the result for multiplying what? This one by this matrix. So we can write it now as our x, y equal to minus 1 over 5 times minus 9 minus what? 4. You can choose to write down this step. It depends on what you want. You can choose to write this step down before you move here. So you just write that step, you multiply by 1 over what? 5, negative 1 over 5. Now we can use negative 1 over 5 to complete the calculation. So all you need to do is you have x, y equals minus 9 times minus 1 over what? 5. And then we have minus 4 times minus 1 over what? 5. There's no need for you to write this step. You can just use the calculator and punch minus 1 over 5 times minus 9. This is giving us 9 over 5. We all know that. So we have 9 over 5 and 4 over 5. So this is it. Now when you multiply this, you are getting 4 over 5. So therefore, x equals 9 over 5. Which is approximately, now x equals 9 over 5, which is approximately 1.8. This means the cost of 1 kenke equals 1.8 Ghana cedis. That means 1 cedi 80 pesos. And then the cost of 1 fish is y equals what? 4 over 5, which is giving us 0.8, which means the cost of one fish that they bought was 0.8, 80 pesos. So that is it. So you can write that in statement for the examiner. The cost of one kenke equals 1.8 cedis. The cost of one fish equals 0.8 pesos. And that is it. You are done. But before I end this video, let me show you something. There is no need for you to go through these steps that I went through to generate the value for the formula for x, where x equals A inverse times B. There is no need. All you need to do is to remember that x is always equal to what? A inverse times B. So from the time that you calculated A inverse, from here, once you are able to find the A inverse, just quote the formula x equals A times B and just substitute the result and finish your calculation. If you really want to solve or show workings for finding x equals to what? A inverse times B, it depends on you. I just taught you how to do that. The reason why this equation is giving us what? X equals to what? A inverse times B. So thank you very much for joining me here. Stay tuned and see you in the next one.